brought you up. All right, it's setting us up. Okay, there we are. Hello. Okay. Okay. Oh, there we go. Okay. All right. There we go. Okay. All right. Where's Maiki? There you are, Maiki. Okay.
Hello.
There we go. All right. Now we can officially get started. Okay, I'm going to press. There we go. I'm going to press the record button. Okay, there we are. Record. There we go. Hello, everyone. My name is Davonne Reaves, the CEO and founder of Vesterr. We are a crowdfunding platform for commercial real estate where you can invest or raise capital, including hotels. And thank you all so much for tuning in to our Women, Wealth, and Control, how women are redefining real estate investing. So I'll be the moderator, I'll be the host. But I'm super delighted to have Maiki Paul and Daisy Jones Brown. Here, both are phenomenal women in the real estate investing space. And this is going to be a great conversation, right? So, what's Vesterr? As I mentioned before, we're a crowdfunding platform. We launched in 2022. Maiki and her husband recently just completed a successful raise for their upcoming project in Puerto Rico, hotel development project, which we'll get into. So if you missed it because they completed the raise, so I know a lot of folks they got in and they were upset that they couldn't make it. But and then Daisy, she is also a successful real estate investor as well, and hotel investor, and she's launching a military fund, which we will get into. So basically what Vesterr is, if you haven't heard about it, where you can invest in deals as well as raise capital, and you could do it online. And so since it's Women's History Month, we wanted to come and talk about women. All right, so we're going to go in alphabetical order. Miss Daisy, you ready? I see your screen off. I'll go to Maiki since I see your screen first. All right, so Maiki, did you just want to introduce yourself and let everybody know who you are? Oh, can she hear me? I know Mikey's in St. Croix, so maybe a little delay. Uh-oh. She frozen. Okay. Oh, we can't hear you. Uh-oh, Maiki. Here, while we waiting on Maiki, Daisy, could you introduce yourself and let everybody know who you are?
Yes, of course. So, hi everyone. My name is Daisy Jones Brown, and I am in the state of Mississippi. And so, just like I'm in the random place of Mississippi, we have a random storm going on right now. So, hopefully, I don't get cut off as well. So, just a little bit about me. I spent 20 years in the Air Force and 20 more working for the federal government. Just retiring out of the federal government last year. And my husband and I got into real estate. I was telling Davon about this on when we were live last through a dare. And that dare was to actually, from a friend of ours who her and her husband were deep into real estate. And they just dared us to buy a property with them. And we did that. And then we ended up really hooked on the idea of buying properties. And since that was in 2019. And since then, we have really grown our real estate portfolio to over $1 million, and we just sort of got the real estate bug. And then we also looking at doing some things internationally, and we are launching our very first military real estate fund. So I'm excited about that. Excited to tell you guys more about that.
Okay. Let's see. Mikey's back. Let's see if she's all the way
All
back.
right.
There we go. 100%. What's up, girl? All
Trying
right.
again.
There we go. Mikey's
Look.
here all the way from St. Croix. Please let us know who you are.
Happy to, and thanks, Davonne, for hosting. So a little bit about me. My name is Maiki Paul. For all of my Haitians out there, I like to call out that I was born in Haiti. My family immigrated to Philly when I was 6, 7 years old. So spent a lot of time in Philly, did my education at Brown University, studied IR of all things, super theoretical, realized I'm a much more practical person and need to be doing something a lot more tangible. So I spent the early part of my career in a different aspect of real estate, actually. I was often talking to developers, talking to people with money to fund real estate, but definitely from a community development perspective, the nonprofit that I was working with was looking at bringing assets into low-income communities and into places where, you know, the types of assets that we're trying to build, whether it's affordable housing, supermarkets, grocery stores, and things like that, they weren't as accessible. So that was an interesting, like, professional introduction to it. It showed me that there's a lot of money out there to do very complex, difficult things like housing. And if you can get creative with how you put those resources together, you can do a lot. That said, I also realized how difficult it is to do things that, you know, are harder to make pencil out. At the same time, Travis and I were building our own portfolio. We started buying our own property. We tried Airbnb, fix and flip rehabs. So this was in Philly and then DC. And we're always looking for value add opportunities that we can use creative financing with to really optimize the investment. I think that seeing how long deals take to come together, my perspective is you really want to try to go big and make it as optimized as possible, to not lose time and to make it really worth your effort. So we tend to go for the big wins, and that's, you know, proven successful. Been proven successful by our IRR track record, which we can talk about. And so, as Davonne just mentioned, we're at the point now where we are bringing together a couple of interesting things that Puerto Rico is offering by way of tax incentives and such, to really maximize this hotel deal that we're working on. We just completed the raise in December and started construction a month ago, and things are moving. So yeah, look forward to sharing more about that.
Congratulations. Now, you mentioned IRR. We have some folks on here who may not know what that is. So can you explain that as far as what's IRR?
Yeah, it's your internal rate of return. And it's a really important metric to compare different types of assets. Stocks perform differently and have a different risk profile than bonds. Bonds perform differently and have a different risk profile than real estate and other assets. So how do you have a metric that lets you compare your return across these different assets and these different risk types? And so that's what the IRR helps you do. I could go into a little bit more detail, but at a high level, yeah, that's why it's important. And double-digit IRR is really good.
That's what you
It
want to
also
see.
should indicate to you that there's probably more risk involved, but that's why you're getting the return that you're seeing. So just to connect the dots there.
So, do we have any La Antigua investors in the chat? Do we have them? Do we have some here on the call? It, what? We don't have any? I thought we had some. Oh,
Yes, Avery
there
is
we
on.
go. Okay, I thought so. There we go. Thought so. Thought so. Shout out. Shout out. Shout out. Thank you all so much. And Avery, he also has a deal on Vesterr as well. And him and Travis, your husband, Maiki, they did a webinar for us on Black History. So if you're looking for deals, and you missed out on Maiki and Travis, there's also a deal on Vesterr as well. We'll put the link in the chat for you. Now, so this topic is on women, wealth, and control, and how women are redefining real estate investing, which I believe the both of you are, right? Traditionally, women, we couldn't own, right? Like probably within this past, 100 years that we've been able to actually start owning and doing things, without a man or without a husband or a father. And there's a stat that like less than 1 to 2% of the commercial real estate that's owned in the United States is actually owned by Black people, and even less of that is owned by women. As far as hotels, I would say there's 59,000 hotels in the United States, and probably less than 1% are owned by Black women, right? And so we are definitely, even though it's a small percentage, there's the okay, there we go. I'm like, I thought we had some more folks who invested in La Antigua. Even though it's we represent a small percent, but we're still changing it because it was one point where we couldn't do it, right? And so what are some of the ways that you feel like that you're redefining real estate as a Black woman? Daisy, you just recently launched, you're in the process of launching your military fund. Maiki, you're developing a boutique hotel, and you actually have a lot of experience in real estate. So I'm gonna talk to Daisy first. Daisy, like, how are you redefining real estate investing? Because you said you got into real estate through a dare. Yes. But what are, because you're doing things a little, because you're actually a veteran. So thank you for your service. You were in the Air Force, so you came about real estate a little differently. So can you talk a little bit about your military fund? Because you're definitely redefining real estate that way.
Yes, of course. So when traditionally, I think we used to think about funds, whether it was real estate fund, hedge funds, private equity, all these different funds, you really thought it was for the elite. Like the only people that could really do that were the elite. And so once I think you take your stab into what ownership is in real estate and knowing that I think it really is the way that you can control your own destiny. Once you understand how to, I think by the simple one door type or townhouse or whatever, you go through the process of understanding how it works from the beginning to the end. And yeah, you add these other variables in there when you start to think about funds, because funds really, a real estate fund is really just adding more than one asset to uh, together to buy multiple assets at the same time. And then you also realize that you can actually break that apart. And that's what we're actually doing. We're doing a single asset multifamily real estate fund. It's just the way that it's structured. So it's not, it's not out of reach for the average person who really want to learn how to do that, learn how to, the process of just going through buying a property and seeing how it works. And I think how I'm looking at real estate now and how I feel like we're changing the landscape of that. One, that we're actually women, all veteran women who are launching this fund. And we're trying to bring into our team, our entire team, actually women veteran, and we're women of color. All of us are women of color, even down to the person that we have as our construction owns a construction company. And so it's about leveraging everyone's skill on your team to actually launch this particular fund. And so I look at it like FUBU. It's for us by us. So we want to house military people in there through programs like HUD Bash and etc. And we want military people to actually own the fund as well. Even though anyone who wants to invest, anyone who's aligned with our mission can invest in this, the idea is to start bringing wealth into the military community because if you've been in the military, around the military, you know you're not going to get wealthy just being in the military when you're just serving because it just doesn't provide that. So this is the opportunity to just redefine it, how we look at real estate and how we look at how we can leverage what we have and what we're giving in the in the military in that space, so we make sure that we're taking care of each other on the other side, whether it's retirement, whether it's veterans, whether it's military members that are moving around from base to base, making sure that we never really have homeless veterans again. And so that is my passion about it and how we're sort of looking at it. And we want to bring many other veterans into the space and say, hey, this is it's a wide open space and there's room for us. And there's so many benefits, and we can get into those that veterans have themselves that they can add to this as well, where it comes to their VA home loans and things like that. There are lots of different creative ways that veterans can actually um, maximize so that they can use real estate as a way to control their own destiny.
Thank you for that, Daisy, Miss Daisy. Now, Maiki, so there's two things that I see when women or people, particularly women, get into commercial real estate. Either they just kind of stumbled upon it or they actually like studied it and they have some type of experience working for others and now they do it on their own. And so you studied it, you have experience in it, and now you're actually doing it. So you are definitely the epitome of redefining real estate investing. And a lot of times people start off, with residential and then they move their way up to hotel investing. So how do you feel that you're redefining real estate investing as a Black woman?
Yeah, I think for me, I sit in a unique position. I think, at the heart of it is it's about being in the space. If you're women in the space, you are going to have an impact. You're going to have a unique perspective, and you are going to bring something of value. So I actually, have always been doing real estate on the side, right? Believe it or not, in my day-to-day, I'm an AI product manager. That means I work with a lot of data, work with a lot of technical folks, but I still work in the public sector mission space, what my background is in. But I've always taken a lot of what I've learned along my 9 to 5 career and applied it. Starting from when I was real estate, I was a real estate agent in Pennsylvania, Maryland, DC. I had my license in all three. Was people buy and sell, but it was really primarily for our own acquisition and disposition of our properties. I wanted to, own that process, know that process really well. And along the way, taught me a lot about the real estate field. And I just continue to take that throughout all of the phases of real estate, from market research, financing, acquisition, development, and construction. And a property to buy in Philly, given my policy background, to be watching those housing plans and seeing where things were getting share investments. And there are things going. Again, I'm always looking for something that's going to be a value add opportunity, have some appreciation, have some upside. So I was always looking for those spaces where not everyone was already investing in. So did a deep dive into how to.
Oh, I think we lost Maiki. So, well, for those who don't know who just joined us, she's in St. Croix right now. She lives in Puerto Rico, but she's in St. Croix. So she's been having some difficulties with her Wi-Fi. So if anyone who's traveled abroad, you know how that works, especially when you're on the island. So we're going to bring it back to Daisy. So you talked about, your military fund, and you talked about how you're redefining, real estate with that. Did you have any, and I know you've done a lot of real estate with your husband, but did you find it difficult as a woman doing any real estate transactions? Do you feel like that your husband had to step in, because they didn't take you seriously because you were a woman or a Black woman? Can you talk a little bit about that, and how you overcame that?
Absolutely. Um, Absolutely. So, especially when we first started out and we were looking at properties, and I would call the brokers or I would call, the realtors, and we're trying to make the different transactions. They always deferred to him, even if I was the one that was in control of the deal or found the deal or the one that was actually moving that deal along more, they would defer back to him. And so, the funny story is, I'm the one that actually brought us forth into real estate more, and, talk with him about, how it works, and, how it could really benefit us, when it came to taxes, or how it would benefit us when it was redefining how we wanted to leave generational wealth, and how we could actually make money from real estate, in the sense of how we can bring investors in to up our real estate game. As a matter of fact, when we actually got into hotels, I say this all the time. It was someone that I met actually on a trip when we were in Ghana in Africa. And it was another young lady, another Black lady, who told me about, hey, have you guys thought about, investing in hotels? And she gave me your name. Hi, Jameer. Your name, Davonne, to come back with. And I looked into that, and I actually took my very first mastermind from Davonne to learn how to invest in hotels, and what RevPAR were, and what all the things meant to actually invest in the commercial space. And I actually took that information back to my husband, and that's how we started to get more involved. But yes, of course, there's always these barriers that women are not as good in these spaces, and so you have to actually put yourself in spaces. And I always say, you don't have to go in knowing everything. You just have to be an open vessel. You have to be willing to just learn, and not be intimidated by others that may even know more than you, because everybody starts at ground zero. Everybody starts with not knowing. So you just have to embed yourself in these spaces, learn in these spaces, be that student who asks all the questions while you're in that spaces. And even if you have to ask those things more than once, don't be embarrassed about it. Just get in there, learn about it, learn how it can be beneficial to you, how it can help you. There's so many, I think, Black women who are intimidated by the space, and really they just need to step in the space where they are and be okay with that, and just be willing to learn and ask questions in the space. Don't feel like you have to come into space and know it all. And then, no matter who tells you you don't belong in the space, you just need to know that you do, belong there, and that you can learn and actually put all of this into action and keep going with that. So yes, I did have that. That was a long way of saying yes.
No, no, I'm glad that you said that. I know, and I had that issue before. I was doing a deal. It didn't work out, but I was talking It was me and a potential business partner. It was a gentleman. And I was talking, and it wasn't a hotel deal. It was going to be like multifamily or something like that. And the gentleman just like cut me off, like he was the seller. And I was like, "Whoa! Like, did you just cut me off?" And so my friend slash potential business partner, because we didn't do the deal, he jumped in and was basically like, "Hey, Davonne was about to get to it, but you cut her off." And I was like taken aback because, I gave you a chance to talk. You gave my friend a chance to talk, but you didn't give me a chance to talk, right? And so it definitely like bothered me. But when stuff like that happens, I come back, and then I come back harder. Like I come back like, "Oh, you this gonna be your last time disrespecting me." So I be coming back like Kendrick Lamar. It's that Gemini in me. Like,
Absolutely.
shoot, you gonna remember.
You gonna remember me, yeah,
You
and
gonna
and
remember me.
you
I'll be right back. Give me a
think
minute.
about it, and it's
Uh,
unfortunately there's so many single Black women that have children. We need housing, we need spaces, and you need ownership of it. You
uh-huh.
know, you really do need ownership of it. I tell my daughters, um, the first thing they need to do to get into real estate, of course,
Oh,
they could skip this step, but I always tell them, hey, you guys are at that level right now where you could qualify for FHA loans. It's 5% down. Buy that duplex. It doesn't
right.
have to be in the best neighborhood. It could
Yeah.
be on the edge of it. Buy that duplex, rent one out where
Mm-hmm.
it's paying for yours, save your money, and now a year later, do it again, flip it
Mm-hmm.
again. So you can just start where you are, and then your confidence build as you go along.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
it's important, if you guys can hear me now. Am I coming in
Yes,
okay?
Mikey.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
Yes, you're
yes.
back. We got you, girl.
Yeah, on that ownership piece is what's going to help you decide who you work with, right? Too. That gives you that power to say no to the people who, won't let a woman speak in a meeting, or doesn't, believe women should speak in a meeting, or cuts them off or whatever. To a certain extent, there are going to be people you have to deal with across the board, but having that power to determine who you're working with is so powerful, and why getting these assets and being in these spaces is so important. I think I can think of investors that we've said no to, doesn't fit our values, our approach, what we want to do. Banking partners, like finance partners, GCs, and it puts you in a different position to be able to negotiate those things, when you are an owner, when you are driving the deal, when you are making these things happen.
Mhm.
Mikey, before you got um we got disconnected. We were
Mhm.
talking about how, sometimes as women, um it's hard for the men that kind of like just overlook us, especially if you have a partner, you do business with your husband. So how was that experience, especially doing business in Puerto Rico, in that particular culture? It's like the men here and the women's like, so how was that, and how did you handle it? How was it emotionally, because it can be a lot. It's like, wait a minute, I'm smart too. I'm here too. How is that process?
Oh, it's a lot.
Yeah.
The like culturally, especially because there's a lot more older men who are in this space, and there's just a deference that's expected. I had my lawyer tell me, like, Mikey, you shouldn't speak in this meeting because like this guy is not going to like respond well. Like you need to
Yeah.
all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I pick my battles in
Mm-hmm.
that sense, right? At the end of the day, I'm not going to jeopardize a deal. I'm not going
Mm-hmm.
to like no
Right.
one. Sometimes people don't need to know what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
I control the things that I can control, and if someone is really not a good fit, and we have the options and power to not deal with them, absolutely will not deal with them. But sometimes there's no option.
Mm-hmm.
So it's unfortunate, And there's, definitely been times where I've been giving that advice. And what ends up happening is I'm going to speak my mind in the meeting and approach it as diplomatically as possible. But I'm also going to be prepared for, the getting over talked, etc. But keeping the conversation moving at the end of the day, because the end goal is to get something done, right? Whether it's getting financing done. We had to deal with finance partners who had a perspective of what I was doing. Contractors. Eventually, though, I don't know what happens. It seems like they start to understand. And I do know what happens. I think Travis is also good at, you know, clearly deferring when it is my lane. It is something that I've already driven. Because, if he doesn't know, he's not going to like say, it's like, why are you looking at me? You need to be talking to her. So at the
Well,
end of
he's
the day,
coming
it's
in
going to
as
circle back
also
to
a
me.
protector
Yeah.
role too, which I love that he's coming in protecting his wife. So, um, I, I,
He has
I,
that
I,
energy.
I love that. I love that for the both of you all.
Yeah.
Like, do y'all ever feel like, and I had to struggle with this, um, sometimes as Black women, we always had to fight. I mean, it's going on without getting too political. It's going on now, it's Black. We gotta, when I mean not physically fight, but meaning like the conversation where we have to fight to be heard, where we have to fight to get to even to be seen, and it's just like we just fight, and it becomes exhausting, right? And then to some cultures or to some people, it come off as being bitter or being angry, and I wouldn't
Oppressive.
even say that or aggressive. It's like we just trying to get y'all to understand what we just listen. And Mikey, you made a good point. Sometimes you have to pick your battles, and that's something I had to learn. Sometimes you just have to pick your battles because you want the deal to get done. A lot of times, I was like the only Black, the only woman, the youngest, sometimes all three. I'm in a partnership with all men, and it's like, y'all should listen. Y'all were wrong.
Right.
Because of the egos, and then men, a lot of egos. Sorry for the men that's on the line, but y'all did jump onto a Women History Month program. But sometimes men and the egos, and so you got to deal with that. And definitely lost some deals, lost some opportunities, lost some money, because egos got in the way, right? Or so I definitely I definitely can understand that. And it's just, and now I'm at a point where I'm like, look, I ain't fighting anymore. It's too exhausting. Look, you look, this is how I feel. This is it. And you either gonna take it or leave it. Cause I ain't fighting. I'm tired. Right. Um,
Absolutely. I
and
think,
that's
Davon, that I
that's where
had.
I'm at.
Oh, okay. I'm
No,
sorry. I
go
didn't
for it.
mean
I'm
to
sorry, go for it, Miss Daisy.
I just wanted to say that, yeah, I had to not used to navigating that world coming from the military, of where you're pretty much always overlooked for another man. Like, even going through the gate, they'll say, hi, Chief Brown, to my husband. I go, oh, I guess they didn't see me in the car. So, so I've been in that space and working with pilots for many years. And so always having to ensure that you actually know what you're talking about and you actually know the deal and you actually know that helps, that you walk in there, you actually know what you're doing, but you still feel like you're sort of fighting your way through it.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
that was one of the powerful things that I think about this fund that we're launching, and it's all Black women. Yeah,
It
like
is,
it's
yeah.
all Black women. Yes, and so it's
Because we get
myself.
things done, baby.
We get things done.
This world
And
couldn't even run
we
without
got a
us.
badass
Exactly.
construction company owned by another Black woman, and then we have our, commander doing our underwriting, who's also been on. She has a deal where she really really
Oh,
understands
Teresa, that's right.
underwriting hotels. Yeah, so we
I'm
want
t-
to be the face of this.
I love it. Women, I'm telling you, women, we this world, it wouldn't move without women. It just every time, everything that you see, every deal, every movement, even if women aren't the forefront, we're behind the scenes getting it done. We may not get acknowledged. Even Ambassador Andrew Young, he mentioned during this, he mentioned that they didn't acknowledge the women during the civil rights movement, like when it actually happened, like they didn't give them the proper credit that they deserved. You know, he's looking back at it, of course, during that time because it was a different world, but he mentions it a lot, you know. And so as I said, you know, women, we get ish done, you know. We get the, yes, there will be a recording. Yes, sorry, I didn't say housekeeping notes. Yes, it's always a recording. But we want to leave it, we want to leave some time for Q&A. I see some stuff, I see some conversations going on. It says, so I'm looking to transition. Wait a minute, before we get into questions, how can people find you all? Maiki, how can people connect with you?
Email, our socials, coupled investments. Right now, we're really focused on this boutique hotel, so haven't been really active on social media. But yeah, email is probably best if anyone wants to follow up. I can drop my email in the chat.
So when the hotel is open, how are we gonna stay at your hotel? That's really what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, reach out for the discount code. We'll have a website. We're going to be working on our marketing plan starting this summer. So the way that things are moving, it looks like we should be done construction and open before the end of this year. So there'll be a website, social media, and everything. I'm happy to share it with this network when it's live, so people can check it out and start to book directly with
We're
us.
excited.
Yeah.
So my first trip to Puerto Rico will be due to your hotel.
Yes, yes. And we'll be, for the investors, we're hosting a retreat. I'm thinking about also doing a conference because having done this in Puerto Rico and I learned a lot about the business environment there, and doing real estate there, I think there's a lot of interest in that, and want to share what we've learned with others. So that could be on the radar as well. So we'll definitely share with you, Davonne, and your network.
Very excited. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, she put her email address in the chat. Miss Daisy, how can folks connect with you, especially with you have your fund in progress? I know you have an event coming up in Mississippi and then one later on in the DC area. So for any folks who in the Mississippi area, Mississippi, New Orleans, Alabama, or excuse me, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, the Gulf area, we would love to see you next weekend. But Daisy, Miss Daisy, how can we connect with you?
Okay, great. So, well, first of all, Mikey, I will be coming to Puerto Rico.
Right, girl, we
I'll
going to
stay there in that beautiful.
I want the presidential suite, okay?
Yes.
They're all sweets.
And I've been sort of following you guys there. I didn't get to invest in that one, but yeah, super, super, super,
Yeah,
super good, super deal.
I know it's good.
So for us, we're having our breakout event to introduce our fund next Saturday, the 21st of March, down in Biloxi, Mississippi. And so if you need that spring break vacation, come on down. So we're having a real estate investing and mimosa brunch on that Saturday. And then we have a VIP dinner that Friday night. Have some super good people there. And we were able to secure Choice Hotel, who's sponsoring us. And of course, Davonne will be our keynote speaker down there. And we have Adrian Konish, who's out of what part of Louisiana? Maybe Shreveport or
No, she's not from Shreveport. I forgot which part. She's
okay.
from the New Orleans area, but she's not
Yeah.
from Shreveport. And she actually she completed her raise on Vesterr last year. And so we were in Louisiana for the grand reopening for her hotel.
So she will be there. She will be there speaking at our event as well. And so we will introduce the Military Real Estate Fund. We're super excited about it. It's a multifamily that we're looking at around $3-4 million multifamily. We'll start our raise. We're raising $1 million towards.
It's gonna be on Vesterr.
It's gonna be on Vesterr, and so Our goal is to secure and finish our raise by the end of 2026. This is the moment, I think, to get into multifamily, and we are super excited about it, and we're super excited about just really bringing veterans to the forefront. And veterans traditionally, sometimes when you hear about veterans, you always think not us.
Right, right.
But I won't say what you think, but you think not us. But we are here. We are here and we are leveraging and we are growing and we really want to highlight that. And I can't wait to introduce our team and what we're trying to do with this. And so it's just going to be amazing.
Oh, thank you for that. All
So
right, so we
please come, you guys. If you're in Georgia, it's not that far.
oh we got
Come
we
down
we
to the
got some folks
beach.
in the chat. We got some folks in the chat say they're interested. I don't know if you see Miss Daisy.
Oh, absolutely. So
Miss Miss
I'll make
Miss
sure I put
Deidre
the
said
link in
she was
here.
she said she was coming. She well, no one said she was coming, but she said she was interested. Send her the information. So we got a question in the chat. Okay, it's my girl Emily. She says she's looking to transition from a limited partner to a general partner in hotel projects. How big did the hurdle feel to get into it?
Um, yeah, I can answer that. It felt like a really natural transition, given all of the steps that we've already taken, just a larger scale. So I talked to, I think I cut off, but we've really been touching every part of the real estate cycle, market research, finance, acquisition, development, construction, all of it. So this is the same process. The new part of it for us was fundraising. So bringing in other capital because up to this point we had only risked our own capital, and this is the approach that I took. And Travis, for a long time, and this is what's funny, when people kind of ask, okay, like how did you guys get to to doing this and setting up this funds, and they kind of look at him and really I had come across it actually from doing some research, and then also finding the Lake Charles opportunity where I was like, okay, what's this? What is this crowd fund for real estate? Never seen that before. So I took that opportunity to, learn by actually doing, right? Because the way I figured it, you're going to be in a space with people who actually put their capital behind something. There's a lot of people who talk, et cetera. But this was going to be in a room of folks who actually did something with their capital, and also with GPs who had successfully fundraised through a crowd fund, which was interesting. And I'd already been doing research into private funds, and how to set those up, and it was just through books, talking to people, just really self-learning, and then eventually engaging a lawyer to actually put together the documents, et cetera. But it really took understanding what to look for and how to set these vehicles up, in a way that aligned with SEC rules, and also, operating and developing from Puerto Rico. But I think that like the process that we typically attack these things through stays the same. It's a lot of self-learning, like really understanding and digging deep, because then you can hold your own in these conversations. When you're interviewing a lawyer who's going to set up your fund, you have to know the right questions to ask and how to push them, to properly set up your funds. You have to push your accountant. You have to push even the people you're delegating to. So the process is always self-learning, talking to people who've actually done the thing, learning from them and seeing what you can apply to your situation. And then, always like following up and asking questions and double checking information. And the double checking the information, is cannot be understated, because there are people who, because this is a very complex space, there are people who know aspects of it, or but they don't know exactly what you're trying to do. They don't know your business model. They don't know your deal.
Right.
So it's really important to like do your research, talk to people, but also double check what they're saying to make sure that it aligns with your goals. And so that process is, what we follow to go from being LPs to GPs, and it's really a learning process.
I love that. I love that. Okay, I'm just
No,
re I'm
absolutely.
I'm just
Absolutely.
I'm just reading the comments. It says real talk, stand in your own stilettos, know your worth, and don't back down when you're needed and valuable. Yes, you'll get the recording, the information in the chat. Okay, what's the best way to pitch a deal to investors?
Well, first, I think it starts with relationships. I think you start to get to know who's in the room, who you're trying to pitch to before you even start pitching a deal. And that's kind of what we're doing actually with the event down in Biloxi. Is first
Mhm,
introduce what you're doing so people can understand what it is that you're trying to do. And
mhm,
then I would say really understand your deal and really understand your numbers when you're trying to pitch to investors, because you're going to have people who are at all different levels. You're going to have very sophisticated investors, and then you're going to have investors who may not understand it at all, but they know that they want to put their money somewhere safe that can actually grow. And so you have to explain it on every level that everyone can understand exactly what the deal is. And that was me. I was on the opposite end of not really understanding at all, but I know I wanted to put my money in. I wanted to learn more. And so I started there, understanding the very basics. And then I went in as a LP. And then as I was an LP, it's self-study. So like Mikey said, it's really learning as you go. That's what it was for me. And then when you're ready to do that yourself, you just sort of take the same process and you just make sure you really understand your deal and who's in the room.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. And I'll add another lens to it too. You definitely need to know, what you're going to be pitching and be prepared for the questions. So this is where, again, my like product management, tech experience comes in. We talk a lot about something called human-centered design, and user-centered experience. And I actually like took that approach to think about it. What is the journey that I want the investor to ideally go through? And in product and tech, we're always doing like experiments, right? So you're trying to like, outline what you think you know, understand, and then iterate as you go forward. We went through probably like 20, 30 iterations of our pitch, constantly refining it. But we work backwards from what do we want the investor to come take away from this? Because first time fundraising, and we raised $1.3 million, first time. Like I could not have anticipated that, but I think it was really because we started with that end in mind, thought about the investor journey. Where could there be friction, even in how they were engaging with us, finding us, meeting with us? How are we going through the pitch, and explaining and getting ahead of their questions? How do we create that aha moment for them where it really connects and they understand the unique value proposition that our deal brings? Because there's tons of deals out there, right?
mhm,
What is the thing that makes our deal unique,
mhm,
that investors will care about? And then what are the other like more even emotional motivations, right? So we can maximize, optimize our conversion rate. When we looked at the numbers, we had around like a 11-12% conversion, which is pretty solid considering, for our first time. And so we were using that data too to figure out, okay, what was landing, what wasn't. But I think thinking about like, hey, this is how much I would need to raise, right? Starting from the end in mind. So this is if I have if the average conversion for first time investors is 5%. How many people do I need to talk to in order
mhm,
to convert? So that means you need to set your mind to, oh, I'm going to need to talk to 1,000 people,
mhm.
right? To convert 5%, right? And reach my number. And you need to have that in mind so that you can prepare and plan accordingly. And think through the experience that you want to take your investors to improve your chances of conversion. I don't know if that's helpful, but that
No,
was actually our process.
that's no, I love that. Oh, so we have another question. What is the best way to learn coming into commercial real estate as a first timer looking to own?
I think being in the room. So this is a good space to start. It's actually being in that room and educating yourself on the process of what is commercial real estate,
Mhm.
learning how to understand the market, your local market better, than what you may already know. You can't understand all markets. I say start with one, learning to understand your own, and just learn the basics of it. For me, had to take some courses over and over just to
Mhm.
really understand it and let it click for me in a way that made sense to me. And so I say study, actually study and keep studying it and going back to it, and being in the room. There are some conferences that you want to go to. You may even want to join like a investors group,
Mhm.
um, and staying within that group so you can learn from people who are already ahead of you. And so for me, it's a learning thing. Just keep learning, and don't be afraid to put your feet in the water even when you don't feel ready. Take some action, do something, because you can overlearn and never do anything.
That's
So
true. A
take
lot of
some
people do
action.
that. Yeah, the analysis paralysis. I would add to that. That's great, Miss Daisy. I would add also there's different sectors or asset classes in commercial real estate. So when Miss Daisy was talking about education and learning, right, faith over fear. Um, Kind of get an idea of which area of commercial real estate you want to get into. You can start small, like maybe like with the multifamily and do 5 units. Anything over 4 units is considered commercial real estate, right? So it doesn't have to be, oh, you want to do this big, huge office building and then convert it into a hotel. I would not start there. I would start with something that's smaller, more attainable, so you can understand, how the process works. And so that way you can, and also because with commercial real estate, which makes it different from residential, you need 20 to 30% down, right? So what can you do that you can afford? Um, you know, some people they don't like working with capital partners. Sometimes, as Mikey first mentioned, her and her husband, they just did it on their own. And as the projects grew, they had to bring in equity partners, right? So maybe before you start bringing on equity partners, maybe start small, so that way you can that way you can get your feet wet. And I know we're coming at it 8, but if you have any more questions, feel free to put it in the chat. Oh, is any of this wholesaling? I don't know if you want to ask me about wholesaling because I can give you my thoughts, and my thoughts is no. Me and Mikey, we on the same page. Look, we all three. No. Mm-mm. Just give it up. Don't even wholesaling and commercial real estate. You won't even get started anywhere. They're gonna laugh at you. Just like how we all shook our head, they're gonna do the same thing. Except they just won't, it'll be through an email because they didn't respond. It'll be a phone call that they won't call you back on. Mm, yeah, no. And the reason why I know the wholesaling, because wholesaling, one, you dealing with sharks who are commercial real estate agents, right? So they're sharks. They trying to get their money. You think they're gonna let you take their money? No, you out. And then also it's hard for you to get the assignment. When I mean it's hard for you to get the assignment, like either the owner would list it with the agent or they'll sell it themselves. So you would never fully have control of the deal. So you doing that work, trying to find buyers and trying to do all this, it'll probably end up on LoopNet by the time you do it. Yo, go for it, Mikey.
Yeah, it's also a different beast. There's a lot of different uses for commercial real estate. So you have to understand how to evaluate, the zoning,
Hmm.
whether the property is at its highest and best use. You would basically have to put a lot of resources into that assessment that like if I'm looking for a deal, I'm basically doing all of those feasibility studies and market research to make sure it fits my criteria for what I want to build and
Right.
what would be the best thing to build on a parcel. So that would be a huge time investment. So it would be a very time intensive effort. And yeah, I don't know how you do that as an individual. Like you would need to have a team and a lot of capital to do
Yeah.
that. In addition
No,
to what you said, Davonne, it's a very time intensive. It would be a very time intensive and capital intensive
yeah, no, she was saying how
effort.
she was a part of this group that specifically deal with wholesale and commercial. Another thing is, for one, you'll have to know the owners, right? So that way you can pitch to them. That way they don't have to go through an agent. And then two, you would have to know a lot of to connect. You would have to know a lot of buyers. So it's a lot of relationship. It's a lot of, like, I could potentially wholesale if I want to, because I know owners and buy. Like, I can connect them. All you're doing is just connecting, right? And you getting a fee without being licensed. That's pretty much what wholesaling is, which is technically illegal, right? So I wouldn't even. I wouldn't even. I wouldn't even try it. Just, yeah. Sorry to rain on your parade. Right, connecting and buyer. So any more questions before we wrap it up? I will say thank you, Miss Daisy. Thank you, Maiki. We appreciate you especially coming in from St. Croix, for coming in and speaking with us and just being a part of the Vesterr family. And thank you all so much who tuned in today, tuned in tonight. So I wanted to wish all the women a wonderful and amazing happy Women's History Month. I mean, I'm telling you, history cannot be made, or herstory cannot be made without women. We really are just the backbone and the mother of the world, pretty much, right? So we thank you all. We appreciate you all. Again, thank you, Maiki. Thank you, Daisy. Thank you, Miss Daisy. And hopefully we will see you all in Mississippi next weekend. And I can't wait to see your hotel, Maiki, in Puerto Rico. Okay.
Yes.
Give me a
Yes.
little rum. Thank
Yes.
you. Oh, we got Ambassador Shabazz. Hello, hello. So yes, thank you all for tuning in. And I don't know if y'all had any last things y'all wanted to comment or say, Maiki or Daisy, before we leave.
Just thank you for holding the space for a good conversation. Happy to join the others and happy to connect with folks, and hope to see many of you down in Puerto Rico at some point.
We will.
Yes. Thank you all. I hope to see you all at the brunch. We're going to have an amazing time there. So hope to see you all in Mississippi and Biloxi.
Thank you all. You all have an amazing night.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.